Today, we are going to talk about what to do when someone asks you for free coaching or, in general, any work for free. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Luisa Zhou, and this channel is all about helping you build and grow your business anywhere from start to 7 figures plus so that you can create true freedom, abundance, and impact. With that, let's answer this question today. So there's a lot of information out there on this that I really disagree with. And one of the top reasons, it's because the majority of the advice on this is absolute, meaning it doesn't take into account where you are in your business, what you're trying to do, and your own personality, frankly. And so with that, I'm going to break it down. First, it is not absolute. It actually depends on your business phase and what you're trying to accomplish. So a lot of the common advice says, when someone asks you for something, a question or anything, your goal needs to be to give lots of value for free, to go out there and show that you are here to serve. I do agree with that mentality that to succeed in business, you do need to lead with serving. It can't be about you and how successful you want your business to be. Unfortunately, people are not going to pay you for that. So that mentality is correct. However, the tactical implementation, I disagree with most of the advice out there. So I'm going to give you my advice and what I have personally done and what I advise my clients to do. So the first phase, depending on your business phase, the first phase is where you are just growing your business and you don't have a lot of audience, traction, really anything. In that case, your goal should be to answer everything. Now, here's why. In this phase, I do see some people who are maybe already successful in their careers thinking, okay, I need the same respect in my business as I already have in my career because I have earned it. Yes and no. Yes, we are all deserving of respect, but the truth is when you're starting something new, it doesn't matter what you've already accomplished in your career. You're starting a new endeavor as a business owner, and so people are going to treat you in that light. When I was first starting out with my online advertising consulting business, I had already a very established career. I was very well respected, had a managerial position, great salary, managing a really big team with a lot of revenue in my career. And I naturally assumed, people were going to respect that and they would realize what a steal my advice was in my consulting. Nobody cared. It's because I was new to the online world. I had to kind of rebuild my reputation. And yes, I could leverage my job and use that as a little bit of social proof, but I had to go out there and kind of rebuild my audience, my brand, and my reputation. So because of that, in the beginning, I wasn't trying to be super efficient. I wasn't calculating, oh my gosh, I make this much per hour in my salary. This is just such a waste of time. I was thinking, if I can even have someone be interested in what I have to share, I will just give them everything I can, and I will worry about figuring out free versus paid later. And I did that, and frankly, that's how I got my first paying client. I gave them so much free advice, and it was really good for over 2 weeks of back and forth in-depth support that they emailed me and said, hey, you've given me so much. I'd love to learn more about how I can hire you. And so that's actually, I would say, how I got my first handful of clients, where I did that for my first clients. And then later on, I still gave a lot for free. I gave so much free advice. I gave free coaching sessions. I just didn't do like 2 weeks of back and forth in-depth like essay email responses. I kind of put a container on it and said, hey, I'll do 30 minutes of free coaching where you're going to walk away with a tangible takeaway, and we would decide on what the takeaway would be. And then that way, if you feel like that's really good advice and you want my help to implement it and to do these other things, then we'll work together. And if not, then that's totally fine. You'll get the free advice. So in the beginning, at least until you've got your first handful of clients, maybe until you're even consistently getting 1 or 2 clients every month, I would take that approach. Answer everything. Be focused on giving value. Don't be worrying about trying to distinguish between free versus paid or being too efficient with your time yet. Not the time yet. Now, the second phase is once you have passed getting your first handful of clients, you're consistently getting maybe 1 or 2 clients a month at least. This is when you have to start thinking about, okay, I want to put on my business owner hat a little bit more. I still want to give lots of value, but I need to learn to be a little bit more efficient with my time. And so what I would do here is I would do a fine blend where you're still chatting with your people, you're still answering questions that you can that are quick and fast, But if you're seeing kind of the back and forth go a little bit too in depth, or you're feeling like someone's asking you for a little bit too much more detail than you're willing to give for free, then you can tie that into, hey, I'd love to talk about how I can support you further and we can work together to solve these issues. Would you like to hop on a call to talk about how we can do that? Right? So it's very clear you're hopping on a call to talk about if they want to hire you and if they want to work together, and you're doing a very natural transition. I think that's literally exactly kind of how I said it, almost word for word. Of course, modify it for your voice and your language, but that's pretty much it right there. Now, how much back and forth in the beginning is enough? Well, let me tell you. So the way I did it was when I was starting out, I used my own Facebook group to get a lot of clients. And so this was years ago. I ultimately grew that group to, I would say, about 24,000 people, I think. So it was a really great group. Started at 0. And so what I did for as long as I could, for at least the first few thousand, every time someone would join, I would welcome them. I would welcome them in a post. I would chat with them if they responded. And if it felt right to kind of send them a private message where I wasn't trying to sell them anything, that's key. I would just say, hey, thanks so much. I love having you in the group. I love your participation. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. Is there anything that you're working on that I can give you some support with, in the context of what I was doing, which was advertising consulting? And they would ask me some questions. Now, if those questions were really simple, like, hey, do you have any information on how to do this thing? And it was a free training I already posted, I'd say, hey, yeah, go and check this out, right? Or, something like that. We would just have a little bit of back and forth. And so I would usually do about, 1 or 2 back and forth sessions and give them some free advice. Or they would say, hey, I'd love to learn more about this. I would say, okay, great. That sounds amazing. I'm going to put it on my list, and the next live stream I'll do, that'll be it. And so I would do that. And then if it became really in depth, like, hey, can you review this for me? What do you think about this and this? Then I would say, okay, hey, what I shared earlier, right? So walking that fine line where you're still focused on giving a lot of value, but you're starting to be efficient, where if it goes too in depth or too long, then you can transition it into talking about that sale. You're being very upfront about it too. We're never going to do any like switch and bait or any of that salesy stuff here. Never. So that's phase number 2. Then phase number 3 is where you are really starting to be in growth mode for your business. You've got the consistent clients, you've got good revenue, you've got good profit. And I would say usually I see this at about multiple 6 to maybe even 7 figures. So higher up on the revenue scale, I see a lot of entrepreneurs try and do this before they're at that point in their revenue, because they're thinking, okay, I'm at 6 figures, I'm doing really great, I'm gonna take a step back. You can do whatever you want. But the truth is, the longer you do this, the more of a rapport you'll build with your audience, the more sales you'll make, the easier you'll make it on yourself, frankly, to grow and get to that level faster. Personally, for me, I was coaching as many of my clients. I was answering as many people for free as possible up into my first about $3 million in sales. And so not in 1 year, I did about like 7 figures each year for about 2.5 years during that time, about maybe 3. And so I was doing that for as long as possible. Now, I wasn't trying to do it all myself. I do want to caveat, I did have program coaches, but I would do as much as possible. And every single person who would comment on any of my social media platforms, I would try and respond to personally as well. I wasn't always perfect with it, but I did want to caveat that, because I do see a lot of people try and kind of get into that position too quickly, and it kind of messes them up, or not messes you up, but slows them down a little bit more versus the engagement and growth that they could be building if they put it off a little bit longer. I'm always going to give it to you straight, so just telling you now. Okay, so back to this last phase. So what I do nowadays, I also have been doing this for going on 8 years, right? So I've built a lot of social proof. I'm very well known in the industry, and so I have kind of earned it in a way. That being said, you have to re-earn your trust for every new person that finds you, right? So it's not like I'm just sitting pretty on my laurels. I wouldn't be around if I had done that. So I do a blend of that. What I do is I have customer support handling our emails, which is where my audience is, the majority of my audience is. And so I have them handling emails, and I have so much content at this point. I have over like 200 live streams on my Facebook business page before I stopped doing it. I don't even know how many videos on YouTube and blog posts and all of that. So most of the time, if someone emails in with a question, I've most likely covered it. And so someone on my customer support team will send that person to that direct piece of content, or to say, hey, go and search for this on Luisa's YouTube channel. You're going to find it for sure. So we'll do that. And then if it's a question and there's a slight chance that I haven't covered it before, then what they'll say is, hey, you know what? We're going to put this on the list of ideas for upcoming content that we're going to create, or that Luisa's going to create, so that if we create it, you're going to be able to have that answer. And so everything is a little bit more scaled, where we've got that fine blend of personal support where someone can, get sent a piece of content I've already created to answer their question. So it's getting an answer from me, but it doesn't involve my personal time. Then if it's a more specific question, or not more specific, but a more unique question that I haven't covered yet, then I will create something for it so that it benefits everybody. So it's also a good use of my time. It answers their question, so it's a win for them as well. They just have to wait a little bit, but honestly, it's worth it because they still get that answer. The things that we don't respond to for free are unique questions like, hey, can you review this, right? Can you give me more detailed feedback on this? In that case, then we'll be very upfront and say, hey, this is something that Luisa covers in this course or in whatever program. And if you are interested in that, go ahead and join the waitlist so that you can be notified when it comes up. So it's very straightforward. I'm very clear that I'm here to give a ton of value for free. But as my business has grown, how I give it also depends on where my business is and what's a good use of my time, because I need to be respectful of you and me, right? It's a two-way relationship. That leads me into the second piece of this that I want to talk about, which is that a lot of the advice out there on answering people for free and giving value really talks about kind of niceness, right? And maybe people don't use that word, but it's like, you just need to give value, you need to be nice, you need to serve. And again, like I said earlier, absolutely, we are here to serve. If you're not here to serve in your business, you're not going to be around for very long. At the same time, I disagree with the idea that, the customer or the free customer or your audience is always right. No. That's just saying, hey, the customer is on a pedestal and you as the coach, the course creator, the business owner is kind of secondary to that. The way I think about it is we are both on the same footing. We have similar goals. The more I help you, right, the more you grow, the more you maybe share my content with other people, or you buy my programs and courses, or you just go out there and get amazing results and you have amazing gratitude for me from just my free content and you share with other people, or you just have that appreciation, right? It all comes back in some way, shape, or form. So we have the same goal. With that in mind, it's not about who's winning over the other, who's more powerful, who's right, who's wrong. It's how can we both respect each other as human beings to get to this goal that we share for you. And so the way I would think about it is this, right? And this took me quite a few years to figure out for myself, because I grew up in an Asian household where I was taught always be polite, always be kind. I also grew up in Texas where, it's all about that Southern kind of etiquette and approach to treating people with respect. So it's like a double whammy. And so it took me a really long time to figure out, first of all, being kind is not the same thing as being nice or needing to always put other people before you. And so the first thing I would think through is, what do you want to do? These days, frankly, I do not respond to comments that I do not want to respond to, right? And that's because I create so much content. I think it's very obvious that I'm here to serve. If it doesn't feel like a good fit for me to respond to something and there's no expectation of it, I don't need to. So I only do what I want to. That being said, I do try and review as many of my comments as possible, so that if I see something where it's like someone has just really poured their heart and soul into a comment and is so appreciative and polite, and I want to give them some extra support, I will say, hey, I'm happy to do it. I don't have to do it for everyone. I don't have to do it for anyone. So when you do that, it lifts a lot of the pressure that you might be feeling to, oh my gosh, I need to do this because this is what everyone says. This is what everyone says you have to do. And I don't know how I can juggle all of these things or balance the fine line between free and paid, right? Do what feels right to you. The second thing I would think through is, are you trying to please people? For the longest time, like I said earlier, I wanted to be nice. I wanted to live up to my upbringing, and I wanted people to realize that, you can be kind and grow a business. Over the years, I realized that it's very different to be kind and integrity versus pleasing people. Those are actually not the same thing at all. And so it took a lot of self-work, and that could be a whole video in of itself, but suffice it to say here that what I did was I learned to focus on delivering real value and doing what felt good to me, and then focusing on that. right? I'm a person who is in integrity, as I'm sure you are. Most likely, 99.9% of the people watching this, right? And so with that, I'm always going to be doing the right thing that feels true to me. And so I can trust my conscience to kind of be that compass. And anything else, if it's people pleasing, wanting people to like me, wanting to prove something, I get to release that. I don't need to prove a single thing, right? The people who take enough time to go through my content and really figure out, oh, wow, this woman's been around for a long time. She is here to stay and show up every day, and she knows what she's talking about. They're going to figure that out. Plus, I've got so much social proof in so many different ways online that's easily Googleable, right? And so that has just been built over time. And so honestly, if I could go back and share this advice with myself a little bit earlier, I would. It would have saved me a lot of angst over the years thinking about how do I do this and still have people like me and all of that. So I'm passing that on to you to hopefully save you some of that. Then the last thing I would think through is, as I was talking about earlier, right? If you have the shared goal, which you do, of you helping your people so that you grow your business, then what it needs to be about is you guys are on equal footing, then you teach people how to treat you and your content as well. It's not like your customer or your free audience is above you in any way. It's a side-by-side type of relationship. So you teach people how to treat you. If you're teaching people, you're responding to every single comment, you're answering everything for free, and you're going in depth about it, then that is how they are going to treat you. Same thing in life as in business. And if you teach people not to respect your content, right, kind of just to treat it haphazardly, not to go out there and maybe search your existing content for questions that they might already have, that's how they're going to respond. And so this is the same thing, like I said, as in life. What I teach my audience to do nowadays is, hey, I'm here to create amazing content for you because I respect you and I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to BS you. I'm going to give it to you straight. However, in return, I ask that you treat me the same way so that you respect my content, you respect the time I put into it, you take time to search for something yourself because it literally takes 2 seconds to search for something in the YouTube search bar, or you look through my content, or if you really have a question, you're going to ask it in a really polite and appreciative way. That's all I ask. Let's treat each other kindly. And anyone else, they will either get removed from my community. My customer support team has full leeway if someone feels rude to them to ban them from my email list and any other channels that they need to, right? Because yes, I'm here to serve. I'm here to create amazing value. But at the same time, I'm a human being, just as you are, deserving of all the respect and appreciation in the world as well. So with that, I hope that has helped you really think through all the nuances of balancing when to answer something for free, how much, and what feels good to you. That's why I said at the beginning, there's just so much misinformation out there that just makes it feel like an absolute answer when there are a lot of different details to think through, as frankly with all aspects of business. So if you found that helpful and you're looking to grow your coaching business, what I have for you is another great video on how to start your coaching business in the next 24 hours. Go out there, get started, get some paying clients, and get going. So if you want that, I'm going to go ahead and share that video for you right here so that you can check that out.